back in this thing. Okay. So the daily page out of my book today was titled "There's Never Enough Knowledge." So when it comes to perfecting a task or learning about a subject or honing a skill, there is never enough knowledge. You must always be seeking more, and from as many varied sources as you can think of. The example of the page was Napoleon Bonaparte, and how he absorbed into his mind every conceivable tactic when it came to strategy, on all levels. When it came to games, when it came to warfare, when it came to competition, strategy was all consuming when it came to his interests. And this was noticed at a very young age. So through his schooling, he was given, heavy responsibilities at very young, which he seemed to manage because he was always thirsting for more knowledge when it came to those subjects, especially leadership. And I think that's how we should be approaching everything, life in general. There's never enough knowledge when it comes to life and how to live life, how to succeed and excel in life. So that's something we should be doing. It's always searching out new knowledge. Which probably means I need more books. Maybe I should get a book on Napoleon. That'd be pretty good. But yeah, that was today's page. So I don't know how much I can say on that. I was at work yesterday with the dogs. That was a lot of fun. Everybody behaved really well. There was no drama, no fights. Let's see, what else? Didn't have many dreams last night. I'm sure I did. I woke up from a bunch of dreams, but none of them stuck in my memory. What else? I was listening to a podcast, and they had mentioned that people have reported that when they quit smoking marijuana, the ganj, it seemed like their dreams came back. Like, I guess it seemed like for years when they were consistently smoking, that it just seemed like they didn't dream very often, which I had noted myself, that as soon as that stopped, all my dreams started coming back, like vivid dreams, and multiple, all night long. I'd wake up from a dream, go back to sleep, have another dream, just one right after another, all night. Very interesting. Which made me think maybe that's a secretly intended side effect, is to take away the visionary part of your mind. That's why, after all these years of demonizing cannabis, let's legalize it. First they popularize it in entertainment. So they have movies like Friday, and then you have musical characters like Snoop Dogg. First you lay the foundation for social acceptance. This is after all the years of demonizing it, mind you. Now they correct course. They do a 180. They go from don't do drugs to do drugs. Very interesting how that turn of event has taken place. And then the people, the populace thinks they won a little bit of a war. Like they accomplished something by having that legalized. And as soon as that started to happen, I was like, something's up. I see it. I can see it. You're telling me after all these years of don't do this, now it's okay, you can do this? Something's up. And in conjunction with this, you don't have dreams. That means it's cutting off something in your mind. It's clouding something. It's throwing a veil over some sort of mental aspect that has visionary capability. And I used to think that I liked the way that the cannabis made my mind move, did make me think a little differently. And I was a little bit more creative when it came to certain things, but that was during the waking hours of the day. It's interesting how the subconscious part of your mind is affected in a way where your dreams seem to go away. And I thought that was just me until I heard somebody say that in a podcast. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it's not just me. That means that's everybody. So that's interesting. It makes me think, what is it doing? What is it doing? Or, better question, why would they want that subconscious part of the brain to be dulled down? Maybe there's something there. There's something there that should be looked at and entertained. So maybe don't smoke cannabis. And if you dream, write them down. I started writing some down. I haven't written any of them down in a while because I haven't had any that seemed very interesting. I mean, the last one I had that I remember was ghastly. I guess maybe I should write it down because I don't know what it means. I'm pretty sure psychologists could delve into that pretty deeply to see what that message was in that dream. But it was pretty. It seemed like a very negative dream. And it's a shame that one came back crystal clear with me. Alright, jumping on the freeway. So yeah. Never enough knowledge. Maybe I should get a book on dreams. That'd be interesting. Any more stuff on the mind? How the mind works? I don't know how this video is going to go. Doesn't seem to be a lot on my mind. Let's see. How could I fill the air? Let's see. Let's keep going with never enough knowledge. Knowledge of self, knowledge of your surroundings, your immediate surroundings. Always keep careful when you're driving or walking anywhere. Don't be so on your phone or in your earbuds that your immediate surroundings become nothing but a blur. I didn't read what that sign said. Alright. Something's happening on March. Working on the freeway. Oh yeah, this month's almost up. Think about that. So March is coming up pretty soon. That's my birthday month, March 9th. I'll be 49 coming up. So there's that. 49. 13, 4. Yep, a lot of dead air in this one. Should have looked at the current events on my Insta scroll. That's another way to use social media. Speaking about the never enough knowledge, there is an endless amount of accounts that you could follow that are just full of interesting information, just depending on the subject. So if you ever want to, that's the best way to use all this technology as like it's like a hack. It's like a shortcut for learning. You know, I think I said this in another video. All these people did the heavy lifting when it came to the experimenting. If it's like, say you're into engineering, there's a bunch of engineering accounts you could be following. You know, and if it comes to artistic technique, you know, a lot of these people already perfected it and they can show you the way. You know, that's what all this education and schooling is supposed to be about anyways. These teachers are supposed to be showing you what they've learned so you could use it yourself and maybe build upon it. So when it comes to knowledge, that's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be taking in what has already been done and then making it your own if you're good. You know, if you're really have any kind of raw talent like Napoleon did. He took everything that was taught to him and he didn't just use it. He innovated with it. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be just regurgitating all the things we learned. We're supposed to be using them in ways that have never been used before. That's why AI is interesting. Because, you know, a lot of people, all they're doing is using it in ways that they've seen others use it. What we need to be doing is thinking of ways that this hasn't been used yet. And I think that's what's going to really blow people's minds with AI. Because right now it's just, you know, people are making stupid videos and seeing Trump. They made a stupid video of Donald Trump is like fighting somebody. It's like martial arts scene out of a movie. Yeah, it's cool to look at, but it's retarded. Come on. You know, you can make music with it. You can make, you know, just visual images. You know, you can have it write stuff. But even then, it's all, you know, the data set is the source material. So when it comes to AI, it's the innovative prompts that are going to make it do something fantastic. I should watch a video on AI prompting. That's what I should do. Pretty tired today. Yep, never enough knowledge. That's why I like this little book, The Kabbalion, because it's got these 7 hermetic principles in it. And really it's like they're little tools. And especially the way the book is worded. It's very interesting. And it just gives you different thoughts. Like, oh, it's an interesting way to think about this. For whatever the subject is. Especially because these laws can be applied to a lot of different areas, you know. All forms of physical matter are affected by what these laws talk about. All forms of human behavior are affected by what these little 7 principles talk about. You know, it covers a lot of ground in a very concise way. guess that's why the tinfoil hat way of thinking is appealing to me. Because if you have a very conspiratorially founded mind, foundational structure for your mind, like when you hear the mundane things that are happening in the news and current events, it gives you a very interesting way of looking at all of it. Like, okay, this is what they said for whatever the topic is. They said this, this, and that. Alright, that's what they want you to hear. But how else might they mean that? Or how else, or why else would they be giving you this information? Like, okay, let's say with the whole cannabis topic. You know, they're came to decriminalization, and then the medical use, and then the recreational use. Like it was you know, a cascade of steps that took place, one building upon the next, until full-blown legalization is now pretty much in effect. You know, there's pot shops everywhere. You know, for whatever reason, it seems like they can't, or there seems to be some sort of regulatory structure in place where they can't sell it where alcohol is being sold, right? So you're never going to see it at a supermarket in like the liquor aisle, or you know, where that stuff is sold, or you're never going to see it in like a liquor store. So there's very specific places, and now there's pot stores, you know, cannabis stores. Anybody over the age of 21, I believe, or yeah, I think it's 21. You can just walk in there and buy some now. But it didn't already start off that way, you know. So they baby stepped it back into the population, and they set the foundation with that a long time ago. Probably talked about this in a video already. You know, with that movie Friday. You know, if you think about it, the movie itself is like a cautionary tale. You know, it's kind of on one level warning you that, you know, smoking pot could be bad, could be bad. You know, with Ice Cube's character, you know, he tries it and he has a little bit of fun with it, but then, you know, it didn't seem like for him that's his thing. But the main sell of that movie was Chris Tucker's character. That's what everybody came away from that movie liking, was him. So then there's that, and then, you know, here comes Snoop from the music angle, and that dude's like a cartoon character all by himself, just the way he talks. So he was played a huge factor in normalizing the use of cannabis. So from that perspective, you know, this does a lot of things on a lot of levels. First, it's going to have psychological effect on the population. You know, if anything, it's just a time waster. You know, I don't think a lot of people are going to be using it like a useful tool to help stimulate their mind in a way that's going to, you know, not going to be an explosion of innovation, because thank God we legalized cannabis, or these things wouldn't have been invented, or you know what I mean? On the everyday level, with the everyday person, it's just going to waste. It's just going to be a time suck. You're just going to get lost in it. So in that regard, they're trying to stunt your thirst for knowledge. You're just going to get stuck. That's what it tends to do for a lot of people. You just got stuck. Smoking out, he's just a pothead. And then now that I heard what I heard about the dreams, you know, at first I thought it was just me, so it was my own little theory. And then I heard somebody else say it, like, just yesterday. So if I thought it and someone else said it, that means somebody else already knows this. You know, on the scientific level, on the level that now wants you to start consuming the cannabis. They know this. It does something else to your mind that, at the least, takes away your dreams. That's wild to think. But they know this, and now they want you to have this thing that takes away your dreams. That's very interesting. This is where tinfoil hat thinking comes into play. Why would they want to take away your dreams? Why would they not want your mind to be able to do this thing that it's capable of doing? That's interesting. And really, if you're going to talk about a thirst for knowledge, with this topic being on my mind, the foundation of knowledge is questions. If you're in the pursuit of knowledge, you should have very good questions like this. You know, like why would they want your dreams to go away? That's an interesting question. What is it about your dreams? I've had a couple of very interesting dreams. That almost make it seem like there's something about dreams that aren't just dreams, maybe. Especially when it comes to like lucid dreaming. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a book on dreams. I think that's what's gonna have to happen. Or see what kind of videos I can find today on dreams. Maybe listen to those while I'm at work. There's even a saying, life is but a dream. You know, I wonder if the same mechanisms that allow you to experience waking life are functioning while you're dreaming. Like, for instance, I had a dream. I think I talked about this too. I had a dream inside a dream. When I wrote it down, I called it the Inception dream. It was like a dream inside of a dream. So what I remember this was like a dream where I don't remember what it was when I woke up, but I remembered I had a dream, right? And I woke up and I was in bed. Normally when I wake up knowing I just had a dream, it's like the fuzzy edges of it are just disappearing off into the horizon. I know I dreamt, but damn, I don't remember what that was. That's what it was. I woke up in bed with that kind of feeling in my head, like, damn, I wish I remember that dream. But when I woke up, I was fully dressed and I had my backpack on. Like I was ready to, like I was about to go to work. I remember saying that out loud. Why do I have my backpack on? My girlfriend's beside me in bed, and she's like, yeah, I was wondering why you did that. I was gonna say something, but I'm like, how weird. Fully dressed, fully clothed, with my backpack on, like I was ready to go to work, but I woke up in bed like that. I was like, that's so weird. So I start taking my backpack off, and as I'm taking my stuff off, I wake up again. I wake up in bed. And I was like, oh shit, that's crazy. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. I was like, that's crazy. I thought I was awake. I thought I was already awake. But it's like I woke up from a dream in a dream, thinking I was awake. That's the first time I've had that happen. So then the wild tinfoil side of my mind thinks, how much of life is actually what we think it is, right? We wake up, like when I get into this car every morning and I'm like, all right, I'm in this thing again. That's kind of what I'm referencing. It's like, what is this thing that I keep waking up to? You know, is it just a more elaborate, consistent dream? That's a valid question. You know, everybody just kind of just doesn't even, they'll hear that and then cast it aside like, it's you know, it's stupid. Is it? Is that a stupid question? You know, what is this experience you keep waking up to every morning when you get up out of bed? That is a consistent thought in my mind every day. That's why I say that. Here I am in this thing again. Because to be honest, I don't know what this is. And to be honest, nobody else knows either. It's just an experience you're having. That's why Joe Rogan named his podcast that, The Joe Rogan Experience. Because from the seat that he sits in, looking out from the inside of his skull into the world, this is his experience. We're just part of it. I'm just a thing in Joe Rogan's world. I've had that thought too for myself. You know, it's not like I could step outside of my body to see that there's an actual objective world other than the one that I'm experiencing from inside my skull. I know it sounds wild to hear that, and the psychologist would probably be like, this guy has lost it. But it's a very valid idea to ponder. And then that goes into the deeper aspect of, okay, so I'm having this experience. This is the Jerome experience. Okay, but where did this experience come from? And this is where the idea of God and a creator, this is where all these ideas come from, is people pondering these types of thoughts. And before we had all the distractions of the world, people were able to sit and ponder these thoughts. You know, they weren't occupied with 8 hours plus of work a day, and since it was more communal living within a tribe, you know, you had your mate and maybe your kids, but you know, everybody took care of the tribe, so it's like you didn't really have to focus on your family so much, right? You played whatever part in your tribe you played. But other than like the hunting and the gathering of food and the maintaining of the tribal shelter, you had a lot of time on your hands to think. Right? And then back in the tribal days, you know, every indigenous type of people had some sort of mind-altering plant, you know, that they would imbibe. And then when you have thoughts like this, you just go deep with what is this? What is this thing that I wake up to every day? You know, will I find out once I expire? I don't know. And when this one's done, do we have another one? I don't know. All the religions want you to think no, right? For the most part, all the main religions, right? Christianity, Catholicism, you know, their idea of, you know, once you die, it's either heaven or hell, and then that's pretty much it. But what happens there? What happens in heaven and hell? That's a valid question. They can't tell you. They can speculate. But speculation is nothing more than a guess. That's a speculation is a fancy word to say I'm just guessing. I have no idea. So here we are, back in this thing, almost to work. Right? That's why I like the fact that I can put in my earbuds at work and look up interesting topics like this to hear while I'm working. You know, I don't have to be consciously aware of what's, you know, customers, or, you know, I can just do my work and listen all day to podcasts or videos. So hopefully I'll be able to find something interesting on dreams. Because I do think that's an interesting, going back to the no cannabis makes your dreams come back. Anybody who happens to hear this video should conduct an experiment and see if it happens to you. Or if anybody listens to this video that does smoke cannabis, think about your dreaming. Do you dream often in a way that you remember them? I know for a fact, and I remember thinking this distinctly. I had this thought a while ago that when I was a kid, real young, still in school, way before cannabis came into my life, I used to dream a lot. And then it seemed like after cannabis entered into my life, it was rare I would have a dream, any kind of dream that I remember. I mean, if I'm dreaming, I certainly don't remember it. But as soon as I kicked that cannabis to the curb, these dreams came back full force. And I may not remember them all, but I remember having a dream. And it'll be like just a quick fuzzy image of something, so I know there was a dream there. So I think your mind still is doing stuff. It's just that substance is blocking it out. And then the question again, why would they want to block that out of your mind? There's a reason. And that seems suspicious. Now it seems like a little mystery that needs to be solved. That's where the tinfoil comes into play. I love it. So, there is that. Alright, about to exit the freeway. Another safe journey to work. You can see my building right there. Oh, and that's because I opened up my Kybalion too. First I read the page for my daily law so I could talk about that, and then I cracked open the Kybalion just to see the chapter I'm in. I'm still on the chapter of the All, which is basically that talks about how the Hermetic philosophy sees God, or what that word might mean. So they use the term the All, and yeah, I've said this on another video before. No, I definitely said this. But I think, if anything, my best guess on what this thing is it's God experiencing itself. The All is experiencing itself from every conceivable, from an infinite number of conscious positions in space and time. That's the best way I can put it. Because they say even every atom, every molecule, down to the smallest particle science has recognized, has a consciousness. And if you look into the double slit experiment, that's a good place to start to read up on if you want to understand that every atom in the universe is consciously aware. And if every atom is consciously aware, then the source of that consciousness would have to be what religion terms God and what the Hermetic philosophy terms the All. So at best, that's what we all are. We are all a limited aspect of an infinite creator, experiencing from the inside whatever this experience is. And that's the best way I can wrap my mind around what all this is. And it does encapsulate all the good and bad. Because I know everybody wants to only experience the good. But that's not how it goes. Because once you create something, you automatically create its opposite. So if you create an experience that has good in it, then its opposite also has to exist. So that's what this is. And so now, what you get to do is choose what kind of source of consciousness that you are in this. Are you a good source of consciousness? Excuse me. Do you spread good energy? Do you spread bad energy? That's what you have to ask yourself. Right? Because energy is, what is it? How's it go? Energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes. How's it go? I forget how it goes. But you could change your energy, basically. So while you're in this experience, do a bit of self-analysis, see what kind of energy you are, and move from there. Consciously aware. Alright, so I'm here at work. Enough of my rambling. I was all over the road with this video, but whatever. Just practicing. Everybody have a great day. Let's go to work.